Welcome back to Lawyer Talk. I'm Adam Goldfein. I'm with Richard Griffin, one of Atlanta's top personal injury attorneys, trying to educate and inform you. And let me just say this to you. If you don't have Richard's phone number in your cell phone, then you are not prepared in the event you're involved in, let's just say, something as simple as a motor vehicle accident. Now, a lot of people would say, if I have a car crash, I don't need a personal injury attorney. However, I could make you a bet if we were at a cocktail party and you had a car crash and you bumped into Richard, the very first question would be, so I had a car crash, what's my claim worth? Okay, because people would want to know, right?
Right.
Should there be embarrassment with calling an attorney?
No, not at all. I mean, you really need to get the answers that most people don't know. I mean, it would be the equivalent of playing chess with a master chess, champion chess player, and you know how to play sort of, and you don't have any strategy. You're going to lose that every single time.
You might lose in 3 moves.
You might lose in 3 moves.
I mean, they are, because they are trained to
Right.
do what they're going to do. And we're talking about the insurance carriers, right? Okay, so pitfalls, right? What are the risks? And by the way, take Richard up on his offer. Have a consultation with him. He'll provide you a free consultation. Find out what your claim is worth.
Right.
And in doing that, you employ some of the most sophisticated research available today. Tell me about it.
I do. I actually have 2 or 3 different ways that I do jury verdict research. And jury verdict research, to me, it's essential. If you're not doing it, then you're really just kind of guessing.
Explain it, because they're watching, they're saying, okay, what does he mean, jury verdict research?
Well, it's very expensive to have the services that are going to basically try to take and put into a database the facts of every single case that they can get their hands on as far as settlement or jury verdicts. And they're going to put it in a format where I can research. I can plug in the facts of my specific client's case, and it will tell me what it projects the likely verdict is, what the percentages are even of what the chances of getting that.
We'll do it by state or county, I mean, to city. I mean, how narrow can you focus this in?
You can do it by county, you can do it by injury, you can do it by state. You can do it by the type of injury, the type of treatment. Are there scarring? Is there not scarring? Is there punitive damages for DUI or hit and run? Is it involving a big truck and a commercial policy, or is it involving an individual?
Do all those things matter? I mean, if I'm hit by a minivan or if I'm hit by a commercial truck, I mean, a hit's a hit, right?
Well, a hit's a hit. I mean, one thing about a commercial truck is you got 30 tons versus 2 tons.
Right, that's true.
So there's a big difference in the injuries and the damage that's typically caused. There's also differences in the policy limits. I mean, typically, you're going to have at least $100,000 worth of coverage, but more likely $1 million on a commercial policy, and you're going to have as low as $25,000 on a individual's policy.
And aren't there also, I had heard that there were other requirements that the drivers of commercial rigs have to go through, and if they're not necessarily complying with what they're legally required to do, that could also demonstrate negligence on their behalf.
There are very specific laws, and those are things that on a big truck accident we get into immediately. We send out the spoliation letters to make sure, which is a letter that says you cannot destroy that evidence of the driver's log or the amount that was being, in the load. There's negligence that a company can do by improperly loading or improperly maintaining vehicles, a long list of those type things. There's also drivers that drive too many hours. The law restricts how many hours they can drive because they get fatigued.
Right.
Or maybe they're distracted. They're using GPS, they're using their texting and doing all these things that we know from studies make you as dangerous or more dangerous than a DUI driver, and they're doing it driving a tractor trailer.
We talked about lost wages, medical expenses, we talked about pain and suffering. We didn't really get into punitive damages, and we didn't get into some of the ancillary damages, whether they be diminished value, loss of consortium, all the other types of things. If you can, real quick for me, when am I entitled to punitive damages? Because you mentioned that in a case before, and you said those were damages to punish. When might I be entitled to that?
Well, punitive damages, the law says, are when the conduct is not simply negligent, but it's actually shows a reckless disregard for human life.
Give me an example.
It would be an example. The best one is driving under the influence, DUI. If you choose to get drunk and get behind the wheel, then you have made the conscious decision. You know that's dangerous to drive, and you get behind the wheel and drive anyway.
You don't care.
You don't care. You don't care. And the other one would be another big one. There's several, but another big one would be hit and run. If you hit and leave the scene and you don't care if that person's left bleeding on the side of the road where you might be able to
What about when
aid.
two cars are racing or acting recklessly like that?
Reckless driving, racing, intentional actions, if someone intentionally causes
And you
an
get
accident.
additional damages over and above pain and suffering, over and above my lost wages, over and above the damage, the property damage?
You are. And a jury gets to decide what is enough damage to punish, to deter that negative conduct.
And so really what I want to make sure that at home you're doing is, I'd ask, what's your case worth? I mean, if you were involved in a claim, and now let me ask this, and I haven't asked this before, how long do I have to file my claim? What's the statute of limitations on personal injury?
Well, you have a 2-year statute of limitations from the date the accident occurred.
Okay, so I know it's 4 years for property damage,
Correct.
right? But 2 years if I was injured. So
Correct.
really, it's important I come to you as quickly as possible.
Well, it is, and sadly, sometimes people call us very close before the statute, and sometimes we can help them, sometimes we can't. If you let it get too close to the statute, the risk you have is the defendant might not be in the country anymore. You might have a difficult time serving them.
Gotcha.
So, if you wait too long, also, all along the way, if you don't get an attorney, you may not be getting the medical treatment you need, not only to physically recover, but to also document the fact that you were injured, that you have a fractured bone or that you have a
and I think
herniated
that
disc.
people underestimate the importance of documenting and establishing your case, right? So it's not only, hey, establishing the negligence, but then also establishing damages, and it's essential. And if we make any one point to you, the first point is that you must call an attorney as soon as practicable, okay? So as soon as you can, you speak with an attorney so you can then make decisions and preserve your rights along the way. And what about settling? They shouldn't engage in a conversation with the other side, right?
I absolutely would not do that. A lot of times they want to do that so they can attempt to get you to settle your case, or sometimes they'll try to get that recorded statement to ask you questions in a tricky manner or maybe inappropriate questions that hurt the value of your case. Well, if we're involved, we're not going to let that happen.
So listen, you need the representation that you deserve. You need to be made fully compensated. It's your money, it's your life, and that's why we're talking to Richard Griffin on CW69.